So I thought I'd show you kind of what I'm doing here. I am taking this out to my campfire. I'm going to try to burn some of this dried grass so that I can give it a second mowing. Just drop some of it. So some of you seem a little confused as to what I'm doing lately. So I thought I would explain it again. So some of you have been following me for years and you're aware that I live in Alaska, and I still live in Alaska. But I moved from this beautiful home I had on Lake Michigan in 2012 because November 5th of 2010 I shot a wolf in self-defense in Canada, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service decided to basically try to charge me multiple charges so that I would plead guilty to one. The charges were all piggyback because I shot a wolf in self-defense and then later bought a $249 license. So without getting into that situation in too much depth, because I think I've covered it at length in other videos, I then had to quit my job. They basically told me if I signed a confession that I would never lose my job, and as soon as I signed the confession and they gave me the final paperwork, they said if I didn't sign that I was going to resign from my position, that they were going to have a grand jury and try to pull my friends who knew little to nothing about this situation and certainly didn't know of any wrongdoing on my part, that they were going to pull them from work and it would be a public embarrassment to them in the front page of all the local papers. So that's kind of how they strong-armed me into agreeing to resign my job, which was probably the saddest day of my life. I quit my job as a conservation officer per my plea to one misdemeanor, and they had me plead to attempting to take a wolf pelt across the Canadian border, which was over an hour from the border. Never went to the United States. However, that was what they had me plead to. And then someone, probably them, released it to my Michigan news, TV news, so over half of the state it broadcast. Just a simple headline that said, "Former conservation officer pleads guilty to attempting to take a wolf pelt across the border." However, I had passed a polygraph that it was in self-defense, and they just simply said that they didn't care, that they were going to make an example out of me. So when I quit my job, because I had to, from their request, I had another job waiting for me because I was being investigated for 2 years, but they dragged it out before this was actually finalized. And so what happened during that time is it gave me time to look for another job, and that's when I used it as a springboard to follow my dreams of moving to Alaska. So I didn't even miss a paycheck. I became a hard rock underground miner. I mined gold, lead, silver, and zinc and was the only female underground operator. And I actually made more money than I did here as a conservation officer. And I quit that job to do this program called Naked and Afraid. I was the first one casted for Naked and Afraid, and then later, a couple months later, E.J. Snyder was casted, and he and I were the first two to survive Naked and Afraid for 21 days in the Serengeti in Africa. Anyways, so this is still my house in Michigan. I picked up and left, and I just took what I could take with me in my truck and a trailer, and I moved to Alaska not knowing a soul. And so now I'm trying to pick up the pieces from a renter that moved out. Every single water pipe in the unit he was staying in, every single water pipe had to be replaced. So did a lot of other things. Some of the flooring is now giving way too from so much water damage before the electric was finally shut off from him not paying his electric bill, among other things. So just today I fixed what I think is the last broken water pipe, which was actually part of my outdoor wood furnace where it comes out of the trailer and begins that route. So still a lot more to do because it actually also froze a heat exchanger and that's a $350 fix among all these other thousands of dollars of damages. So I'm still here, still working, and I haven't had much time to do my yard or anything like that because I've been so busy with other repairs. So got a new furnace in there because the cap had blown off of the chimney, and so I had to get a whole new chimney, cap, furnace, all that kind of stuff, and have the furnace in and ready to go, but just waiting. Tomorrow hope to get up and do the roof cap, and then also do some repairs at another location on my roof, which had nothing to do with my renter. So anyways, yeah, just here, gonna burn some grass clippings, and then eventually probably maybe sit around and have a marshmallow or two, even though I don't usually eat sugar. It just sounds like a fun thing to do. One of these days I'll make my own marshmallows. Anyways, I just thought I'd share with you what I'm up to, so people think that I moved to Michigan from Alaska, and that's not true. I leave on probably Wednesday, doing as much as I could here before I leave. So still a lot more to do, but I only have so much time before I have to get back to work and make some more money to pay for all this stuff.